Is there anyone else in the room with you there, Patty and Tia?
Ty.
Who's there?
Ty is
Ty,
in the back.
okay.
The very long table.
Oh, I see you. Hi, Ty.
Maybe move, maybe not.
Well, I was expecting other people to come. So it's not so
Yeah,
far
come
away.
on. Come on over.
Okay, well, we need at least one more board member for a quorum, I guess.
And Albert's here.
Oh, okay. I don't think.
Very important. The dog whisperer.
Oh, good. There's Megan. Hi, Megan. She's connecting. Hi, Megan. Hi. Okay, well, we have a quorum, so I'm going to call this to order right on time here at 4 o'clock. And Tia, could you go ahead and take roll call?
We have Laura Dunn, Chair,
Present.
Letty Moretti, Vice Chair, Daryl Roberts, Secretary,
Here.
Megan Larrabee,
Here.
Greg Pack,
Here.
Jeff Helfrich,
Here.
and Megan Ramey.
Absent. Okay, and it doesn't look like we have any members of the public here to provide public comments. Is that right?
Yeah, Valerie's here, but I think she's more to help us decipher any particular issues that come up related to ODOT.
Okay, we'll move ahead to the resolution and action item that we have then, the Multnomah Falls service. We received the information that you sent, and Patty, do you want to add any explanation? Or?
I think we sort of have begun sort of in anticipation that the board might approve. We have begun to sort of collect resources for this project and are met with Cascade Locks yesterday. They are excited by the idea of enhanced transit service. We all sort of agreed that this year it would probably be best not to advertise parking within the community and potentially to have the parking, any advertising of parking be done at Bonneville Dam rather than Cascade Locks, because there is, for a variety of reasons, the biggest opportunity would be on Forest Lane, but there's uncertainty as to when the bridge would be completed, and it is sort of more, while it probably could be done, it would be sort of a rush to get the lot prepared for 100 people to park. They did express a strong interest in pursuing options over the next year so that they could be prepared in summer the following year to do accommodate more folks. But we talked with them about some turnaround options in the meantime, and they were supportive of both of those options. There is a small parking lot at Forest Lane and Wanapa, which is called the cemetery parking lot. And they did encourage us to have a stop there so that people could park if they wanted to. And so we looked at it yesterday, and
It's very doable for a stop, and they approved both of our turnaround locations, so we don't foresee any issues with the Cascade Locks area.
and I think ODOT is, we proposed to them a sort of ramp up with a service not really ramping up until fully until after school starts, so it'd be mid-June. I think ODOT was in favor of that as well. Yeah, so that's all I have.
So of the options that were in our last board meeting packet, the third, which included service extending all the way to Cascade Locks, is what's now on the table.
That's correct. That's what we heard the board say.
And that's a go if we approve it from this point, right? That's
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
and that would connect to service, Columbia Gorge Express service as well.
It would expand upon our Columbia Gorge Express service. So kind of in coordination with these changes, right now we're running our winter Columbia Gorge Express schedule, which is 50% service. So we'd go back to our summer Columbia Gorge Express schedule. So right now we're only running one vehicle. We'd run 2 vehicles. And then this, which we still haven't come up with a proper name for, this 84 waterfall corridor shuttle.
Support strategy.
This would be an additional service to the Columbia Gorge Express. That what we heard you guys say is it would like to leave Gateway, Multnomah Falls, the Bonneville Dam, and Fish Hatchery, turn around in Cascade Locks, and go back and do the same thing on the way back.
So how exactly does this benefit Cascade Locks then? Do they get more service to Portland on the Columbia Gorge Express? Is that it?
No, so they get more service between Portland, Cascade Locks, Bonneville Dam, and Multnomah Falls with this new shuttle that we're putting in. It would basically be a vehicle every hour if we go to full service on that. So they would have a bus coming into Cascade Locks from Portland pretty much every hour.
Okay.
So Cascade Locks didn't want us to advertise that they have parking there this year because of the Forest Lane construction. But they're happy to have us turn around and would love our vehicles to be there. They just don't have a good park and ride location.
And to advertise it as, as enhanced service to Cascade Locks, for sure. And that people should, if they're wanting to visit Cascade Locks, should come out on the bus. They totally 100% support that concept of it. It's just using it as a parking shuttle or parking lot shuttle for Multnomah Falls that they just don't feel like they're currently ready to do that, have that, to advertise it in that sense.
But people would naturally use the cemetery lot right there.
Well, we envision that if people are looking to park, they will probably park in the cemetery lot.
No, I understand the no advertising part, but I think they naturally go there anyway if they're figuring it out.
I think there will be some folks that will go there. The Bonneville Dam has actually quite a bit of parking, and we think that could be a real viable, because it's another tourist spot where people could actually see Herman the.
And it's not the
Yes,
Bonneville Dam.
I know, I'm sorry, I always call it the
Fish
fish hatchery. So they could see Herman the sturgeon there, and it's actually a pretty cool little stop away. It's also got the advantage to it is it's got potties and concessionaires and other types of things, so that if people are waiting for the bus, they have something there. They have some options there.
In theory, it would also reduce traffic congestion within Cascade Locks, as well as increase business to those different businesses. Cascade Locks as well.
That's the hope, yes. Could
Will
also
there-
increase some traffic there.
Will there be stops in downtown Cascade Locks then?
Yes, so we'll use our 2 existing stops. So when you're heading westbound, it's right in front of Thunder Island, and when you're heading eastbound, it's right there by the Columbia Market. Those both have full bus shelters and everything at them. And then we would potentially add a stop for this waterfall service near the cemetery parking lot too, so that if people did want to park in that lot, then it is an option.
What do you guys think the biggest risk to the program is?
The biggest risk,
Yes.
a mechanic at this point.
Yeah. So that was definitely my thought.
Yeah, so we have some great vehicles that we've got from Whatcom, and we actually have gotten it, we have a backup one too. Or assuming we proceed with this service, we're gonna go get 2 more, and one of them will be the backup, but even with brand new, well taken care of vehicles, a mechanic would still be our main issue probably, because we have an overwhelming number of drivers who've applied now. We have pretty much everything else lined up. I think it's just the mechanic that would be our biggest risk.
And we have approached Valerie about ODOT mechanics as well as TriMet, about TriMet mechanics, or even just contracting with somebody who wants to start up a TriMet mechanic that wants to do something on the side. Those are 2 options that we're looking at. We're also thinking that maybe Greg and his folks up in the mountain might have an extra one that might help us out. But I'm just teasing, Greg. I mean, we are actually asking.
We just hired 2 more. We're actually
Yeah.
full up.
Yeah.
Patty, I got a
We
question.
had to fire 2.
Yeah, I mean, so I did have a board member call me this morning and ask me a little bit about what the benefits are to the district. And you know, if you look at the overview of the costs right now, the real main direct costs to us are the drivers and the operations cost. The administrative staff and the administrative costs are, if you will, our cushion or our contingency fees. Those are things, the administrative staff includes my time and Tia's time, and, or in this case, Amy's time, and some of those expenses. So they're fixed costs. We already have those paid for. So that allows us to bring in money for those pieces, all the building, and it allows us to ensure that we're capturing the dollars to be able to, you know, any additional lighting or others is covered. So it is if you will, sort of our contingency fee for the service. So it is bringing in more money for the district. And as I said, then it allows us to either add staff to help support both this service as well as other services, or to enhance potential other connections from this service to other services in the county. So we see it as a win-win for the district. And I think the other thing that we see as a real win-win is that it strengthens our partnership with the Forest Service, with ODOT, and also with state parks and some of the other folks that we have the city of Cascade Locks, some of the other folks that we have relationships with, and we think it strengthens our ability to sort of be seen as a key player in in addressing some of the tourism related traffic in the gorge.
Hey, Patty, I got a couple questions for you. Hello?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry. Yes, yes.
If you can hear me all right. So I guess when you mentioned that it's the ability to raise more revenue for the district, I look at it as ODOT's maybe sidestepping the RFP process to go to a private vendor in lieu of a government agency, because it's easier to create an intergovernmental government agreement for a service where that's taking away from private business and their ability to grow jobs, and for ODOT to reinvest in a private entity, not expand our operations. And this just doesn't seem right that we're kind of taking over this when it's our focus should be the district, which is Hood River and what it benefits us, and not how we're bringing in more revenue from another source to grow, where we have to watch. We really need to, I think, watch our budget, because we don't know what the next budget's going to be like, fuel costs, the recession, and all these things that are happening to expand more operations. When this just doesn't feel right to me, where ODOT should have, I think they should have went to a private company instead of us. I know we've done it in the past, but I have real reluctancy to vote yes for this, just because of how it feels with the, I know you guys have done a lot of work, but I don't agree with how it's kind of gone about and how we're kind of looking at this, and when we should be, have they focused on private entities to allow them to competitively bid for the process instead of going to an easy button being us.
Valerie, do you have a response to that concern?
Yeah, I can provide a little bit more background information for Jeff to that end. ODOT does have a contract with a private provider. It's a contract that we've had since 2016, from when we first launched Columbia Gorge Express service when it was a pilot. And the reason that we are not able to continue working with that contractor this year is really around staffing internally within ODOT. We don't have a contract manager for that contract. And that contract is also set to expire. So that's kind of where it stands and kind of how we got here. As part of that was, we just really don't have the ability at this time to utilize that contract. And then moving forward into future years, so kind of thinking longer term and ahead, we do have a FLAP application to continue running seasonal service. And for that process, we would most likely need to go through another procurement as it's a new agreement, or work with Western Federal Lands to identify what the right type of procurement would be, and whether or not we would in the future work with CAT as an option. So kind of to further assess that. So the reason we really approached CAT this year about this is it's kind of just a strange one-off year in where all of those pieces fell with our contract and our staffing.
So what I hear you saying is ODOT wasn't prepared to execute this with a private sector business, and so they came to CAT to try to help alleviate the planning issue.
Yes, with just we don't have the capacity to manage that contract this year. The resources really.
And it sounds like you don't really have other options to provide this service.
Not for this summer. We do have a new operations staff manager recruitment open, so we can have someone on staff, but unfortunately with the state, just the timing of that and the HR process is very lengthy. We're not really able to move quickly. So we just don't know when that person would actually be in place.
And this agreement is just a one-year agreement. So next summer, would we have assets and employees we wouldn't be able to deploy, or is it possible to be a longer term agreement?
This would be a one-year agreement just based on the funding that we currently have available. But moving forward would then, like I had mentioned, work with CAT, work with Western Federal Lands, and with other folks within ODOT to identify really what the appropriate investment would be for future years.
So as far as additional standing or staffing, we're talking about temporary drivers for the summer. Is that right?
Yeah, we are hiring people on a temporary basis, and we have some relationship with obviously Mountain Meadows, where we have been reaching out as potential that some of those drivers could then drive for Mountain Meadows in the fall and winter.
There wouldn't be very many temporary drivers, because actually, if we don't take on this service, we're gonna have too many drivers at the moment, because we're ending our Gorge to Mountain service.
So it would allow us to keep employed some of our Gorge to Mountain drivers.
Yeah.
Which is always good leading into the winter too, to have
Yes,
a number of drivers.
yes.
Yeah, and I will say, there were two things I was just gonna add to what Valerie had to say. The state did provide the Columbia Gorge Express intercity service in 2018. We took it over in 2019. And we had significant number of problems, both in terms of coordination and also the contractor that was providing the service. We had several folks that were calling us, asking us why the bus had left late or they weren't picked up. We had a family that had to spend the night here. So there are issues. We're providing service in the corridor, and we think that we have a relationship with and a direct sort of interest in ensuring that the service in the corridor is provided well. And we have found that there is a benefit to us to do that. 90% of the drivers that we're hiring now are local. So they live here locally or in the gorge locally. I think,
Farthest driver right now is Portland.
yeah, so we're offering good jobs, good paying jobs, to folks here. Otherwise, most of the contracted services would be from the Portland metro area. So I understand where you're coming from, Jeff, and we are helping to facilitate private enterprise in different ways. Just in this particular way, we feel like we're in the best position to provide this service.
Valerie, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to just kind of echo what Patty said about having the two offices kind of running in the same space, because we did in previous years plan, at least leading up to what that could have looked like. And there was a lot of potential for conflicts in terms of customer service and the rider experience and what it really looks like to the public when there are two different operators, but kind of one similar brand or service. And so, I guess this does, as a potential solution, at least alleviate some of that potential, that conflict that could be experienced by users and riders. So I did just want to echo that. That is something that was a concern that we kind of talked about over the years.
And also, I think one of the advantages of us taking on the intercity portion of it is we brought actually substantially more service to the gorge and to Hood River and the Dalles than was there originally. So the Columbia Gorge Express initially was designed by ODOT and the Forest Service and some of the other folks involved as a way to address specifically the traffic congestion at Multnomah Falls. We feel like the opportunity that we offered was to expand services overall in the gorge and ensure people have access to critical spots throughout. So, yeah. So I do understand the concern. I'm not a big, necessarily, I don't think the public sector is always the best option. And I think we've found that in certain cases. I think when we initially started the Gorge to Mountain service, we contracted that out as well, because we felt we couldn't do the provision as well. And I think we're happy that it took a little bit longer for us to sort of take that on.
So do we, getting back to the mechanic issue, is that a go, no go if we don't find one, or do we have some other plan if we can't come up with one?
We have some alternatives. We've talked to Meadows and the county. I actually just sent Jeremy a text message about their mechanics, since Greg said they hired one. But the school district we met with was Tuesday before last, and they were in the process of hiring their mechanic that they said they would share also. So we have three potential options with ODOT, Meadows, and the school district. And then we could always try and hire one for a short period of time. The thing is, we'd probably have full-time work for a week, and then everything would be working fine, and we'd have not full-time work.
I think we are looking at emergency services mechanics in the Portland metro area as well, right? To fill in those gaps as well. So we feel like we've learned our lesson. After last year, that was when our mechanic was actually ill and in the hospital. So we had struggled quite a bit. I will say this for Ty and his crew. Between all of us, I don't think there was one vehicle that didn't go out that was scheduled that didn't go out last year.
Oh, yeah, we didn't miss a schedule.
So.
Well, should we take a vote on this? Are we ready to vote?
Yeah, I think we've had enough discussion. Always we can have more discussion if somebody makes a motion.
So could I get a motion?
So
I'll
Lenny,
make
I'll
the
make a
motion.
motion. Okay, Daryl, go ahead. I'll second it.
I'll make the motion to vote on this proposal.
Oh, Megan Ramey has just joined us.
Oh,
Megan, great timing. We are just coming to a vote on the expansion. Do you have any questions or comments before we proceed?
No, I don't. I'm gonna be biking, so I'll stop biking when I need to vote.
Okay, we're right upon that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Discussion.
But we have to have discussion in the middle of that.
Pardon me.
We have a
Okay.
second.
All right, any comments or discussion?
Yes. Hey, this is Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate staff's due diligence in looking through this and understand it still feels rushed. And I believe we aren't in a position when we're still talking about a mechanic and all the other services that we're looking to try to do. I appreciate that they're trying to find extra additional revenue sources, but I still believe that it's ODOT's responsibility to try to find a vendor. They knew they were having this issue. And it's not that we don't appreciate the less trips on the I-84 corridor, but I don't believe it's our job for the tourism part for us to use, even though we're being reimbursed for the resources and it sounds good and all the language that was used and how positive this is, I still think this is detrimental to private sector business, and I'm a firm no vote on this.
Okay.
And my comments would be, we asked you guys to come back, or staff to come back with the financials and the plan, the spreadsheet. We asked it to be connected to Cascade Locks in Hood River County. And the fact that we were able to keep additional employees on, going into the winter and provide that service, beefing up our ability where it's a huge struggle for a lot of other transportation companies and buses for the health of, I think, our transportation district. I believe it's a good move. But I respect what Jeff is saying. I totally understand that, where he's coming from.
I think it's a benefit to our community, our drivers, our partnerships with Mount Hood Meadows and also potentially school district, other drivers. I think it's great exposure for us, and it's a public good for the members of our broader Gorge community, and a benefit for our environment. So it's something I'm going to favor. And I trust our staff that they wouldn't be proposing this if this wasn't something that they felt that they could handle. And I think that they're demonstrating that for us, that they're prepared to take on this service and enthusiastic about it. does anyone else want to add any comments or discussion? Okay, can we move to a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And we had an aye from Megan Larrabee. Megan Ramey, did we hear from you?
I'm aye.
Okay, all opposed?
Jeff?
He's cutting it out.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. I'm gonna. Oh,
Jeff,
and done.
We're gonna assume you're a nay on this one. Okay,
He
and again,
voiced that. He did voice that.
Yeah.
His comment.
Yeah. So we'll record that way. Chair voted aye on this one. So I believe this motion is passed, this action item.
Okay, great. I think that's all we had for you today. We'll move forward and give you an update on your April meeting about where we are and getting the last little tidbits done.
Okay, great, thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
He's back. Jeff is back.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Jeffrey recorded your no vote, but the motion did pass.
So he just hung up on us.
Okay. Fine.
Fine. Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you, everyone.
A motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Okay.
From Greg, in a second. Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, meeting's adjourned at 4:31. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Adios.
Thank you.
Never get to end the recording. I don't want to have to
Yes.
edit any more of these.